Namaskar. Today we are starting a little early at 6:30 p.m. IST. Thank you so much for joining us, viewers. And we have with us Sridhar Chityala. There are a lot of things are happening just one day after the appointment of the new Fed chair. Well, silver fell by a lot, gold also significantly. What does this week look like? Why this sudden panic about these metals? After all, it was silver was expected to rise because there is so much demand for silver. All this and more with Sridhar Chityala ji. Namaskar, sir. How are you?
Namaskar, Ji. I'm doing good, Ji. Good. Thank you so much for asking. Yeah, good. Feeling better. Thank you. Right. So lots happening, Ji. Lots happening.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, viewers, a small request to all of you. We are going to reveal some inside information. How decision process happens in the Trump administration. There were two finalists, two Kevins, and one won, the other one did not. Well, everybody was expecting the other one to become the third. And that did not happen. Why? What happened? All this stuff and more with Sridharji today. Please like this video. We are not your normal, Desi channel. We have Desi channel with a Desi touch to it. That over to you, sir.
Right. You set the context very well. So I think Sri Ji pointed out, how this whole process began to play. There were two people, as you correct. There were probably four people, including Rick Ryder from BlackRock, and possibly there's one other candidate, Kevin Warsh and Kevin Hassett. It looked like it was going, the Kevin Hassett way. There was a lot of people from markets who were pushing also for Kevin Hassett, who is in the Economic Council of President Trump. And then, of course, and there was also indications that should Kevin Hassett come in, then he would be more, aligned with Trump. And there were question marks around whether Fed independence will be preserved and whether the stability of the dollar would be in question as a result of Fed being not independent. These questions kind of propped up, and I think the markets and the traders were aware. As a result of that, what we call as, many people from the subcontinent and other areas would like to predict it's de-dollarization. There's no de-dollarization going on. The question is, you always markets, go to safe metals. And then so it went to gold and silver because all of the money was not put in gold, but some of it went. And the silver began to speculate silver began to rise. Then suddenly something else also happened. Some analysts began to write, hey, there's a shortage of silver, and silver is an important critical metal for defense and, planes and other kinds of things. So only two countries have plenty of silver. One is India and China. So therefore, you saw the silver prices kind of go up, while concurrently the discussions were going on. And Kevin Warsh was in the Fed and was promised 2006 to 2009 or 2011. He was also one of the candidates whom Trump considered in his prior 2017 to 2020. He was very young at that point of time, so there were question marks whether, what the markets would behave. But he was very much kind of the candidate to the liking of President Trump. Comes with incredible, pedigree and reputation. Is MIT, Stanford, Harvard, you can name it. Married into one of the billionaire families, the Lauder family. His wife is Jane Lauder. And strangely or no surprisingly, Stanley Druckenmiller, who is a billionaire investor, who's also a Republican, is a mentor for both Kevin as well as Scott Bessant. So the story is both these names are extremely familiar, and all the three have the Republican kind of allegiance in terms of conservative culture and also independent, but more market-leaning Fed. So the final decision, final interviews occurred leading up to Friday. And I think at that point of time, Trump made the decision, I would go with Kevin Warsh because that would stabilize the markets. And he comes with a very strong pedigree. He has managed huge amount of family wealth, and he has a market credibility. And the markets also believe that he is not going to bend to President Trump, and he will maintain an independent position. He is very well known to some of the Fed governors like Chris Waller and so on. And so that tilted the decision in favor of Kevin, and he's only 55, young, very, very well educated, reasonably well known in the markets, well known to the Fed. He has already served as a Fed governor. And when that decision was made, the markets realized, okay, it's time that the dollar hedge now can be unwound. And one of the first things that occurred is, the silver lost its gleam, and then gold is beginning to lose its shine because of the dollar stability arising from the new Fed leadership. Many of the Fed governors will remain, except of course Dr. Jerome and Jerome Powell. And by May you will have the confirmation process complete and Kevin coming into play. I think there's also another important data point that people need to look at, which is namely the so-called what we call as the sell dollar trade. There was initial in the later part of 2025, and also moving into 2020, there was some amount of tensions, primarily led by all the actions that were going on in Venezuela, Iran, then of course the Danish island. And so you found that some of these things were creating geopolitical kind of turbulence. People wanted to garland tariffs for that. Tariffs has weathered its storm, and tariffs are kind of stabilizing, contrary to all the kind of rev up that you see in the markets. So therefore those trades also began to unwind, and the dollar began to strengthen. You have seen discounting not just to Japanese yen, but discounting across major currencies, including India. India is now 91 plus. There was turbulence in Venezuela that has been subsided. Venezuelan oil is going to go in. So culmination of not only Kevin Wash, but some of the adjacent activities has given confidence. And so there is not going to be a sell-off in the US markets. The latest prediction is that broadly the global equities will rise around 11 to 11.5% in 2026. And the US equities, notably S&P, will rise around 12% in aggregate, in 2026, powered by three important factors. The three important factors are: the first factor is tax cuts flowing into the system in US. That's number one. Number two, the rate cuts that have happened. The rate cuts that have happened by end of the year. The 10-year treasury is expected to go from around 3.75 to 4% right now to about 3.3%. That's a significant kind of, at least two rate cuts are factored in by the markets, and there is general stability. That's the second vector. The third factor is that whatever the tailwinds or headwinds that they expected on tariffs is settling down. Despite all these numbers, 45, 50, 100 and 25 and so on, eventually the tariff percentage will be somewhere between 15 to 19% in aggregate. That's bringing in good amount of revenues to the treasury balance sheet, Sriji.
Thank you so much, sir. There's another concern here. Many of the tech stocks took a beating on Friday, I think. And they said that this is something to do with the fact that artificial intelligence perhaps is not expected to yield the kind of returns that they were expecting, and therefore sort of a domino effect. The software companies have taken a beating, but hardware companies seem to have held their ground a little bit better. But you think that there's going to be a stock market uptick of about 12% over the year. Now, not we're just in February
Yeah,
now. Time
yeah.
flies. Do you see a correction further down before it starts going up? What do you see the curve for the overall tech stock? Because that means that Dow 30 or, I mean, anything. I mean, all the things
Yeah.
are riding on Max 7. Max 7, let's take, sir.
I think the if everybody is following both the public and private markets very closely, a lot of the money has gone into AI related funding. So somewhere between 40 to 50% of the funding has gone in. It's purely because of the demand that has propped up, and significant amount of uh, dollar investments in billions being put by companies, by the tech companies themselves, like Nvidia, Amazon, Microsoft, etc. They're all big investing in these companies. Now, let me try to respond in two ways. First and foremost, I think the tech stocks have had not a correction, but a major uptick, and we have covered in one of the shows. Almost about 11 companies made up 66% of the gains in the
Yes.
S&P, and the balance, made up the balance, whatever 34%. So therefore, I think that you need to expect some changes. Also, capital allocations within some of these companies would also change because they can't put money into, for example, cloud. They can't put money into data storage. They cannot put money into data services. So right now, the capital allocation is going on even amongst the tech companies into establishing things like competency centers. Yeah, their tech investments are going into into energy sector to power this next generation data centers and the AI computing. Money is going into the next generation chips. I mean, an area which Sriji is extremely familiar. So you're going to see the market is reacting in terms of pulling back some of the money because you see some of the earnings, because there is a readjustment taking place in terms of capital allocation within companies like Amazon, Alphabet, Microsoft, Nvidia, etc. Sriji. So that's what you are witnessing. I mean, for example, Netflix had tremendous, growth and earnings, 350 million customers globally. Meta, which is also has got a significant AI component, has seen growth. So, there may be some tapered growth, there may be temporary quarterly setbacks, but the euphoric growth that we witnessed between after the 2022 20% downslide, we saw 23, 24, 25, all stellar years for the tech companies. So we may not see that type of growth, but eventually they'll pick up once some of these alternate investments begin to demonstrate the revenue momentum in the balance sheet of those companies. That's what we're witnessing, Sriji.
Quickly, sir, next few weeks, is there going to be a correction? The Max 7, see, their PEs are like 30, 40. That's not sustainable, just not sustainable. The history of stock exchanges, if you see, 11 to 15 is where people like to go in and invest. So at 30, 40, it's ludicrous. Why it is so high? So do you expect some sort of correction in the near term?
So first and foremost, you see, it is a direct correlation to the businesses. When you have a high PE, right, which you will witness in transactional businesses. If you take companies like Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, or if you take companies like the semiconductor companies such as TSMC or even Nvidia, they have what we call as 2 or 3 direct costs. A variable cost. Direct costs are not very heavy in the balance sheet of this kind of companies. Most of the profit comes from the transactional revenue. For example, the cloud services we generated is it's a SaaS model. You take the case of Apple. Apple has got tremendous amount of the iPhone sales, to the extent they're not even able to keep up with the demand. So you are seeing where high PE is where you don't have either credit costs or where you don't have a lagged receivables, and when you're seeing rich cash flow generation, that's why you're seeing high PE. When that is impacted, that's when you see the PE is going down. Now, to your point, do I see within the 90 days, a significant correction? I see correction, but I don't use the word significant correction to the dimension of the market.
Thank you so much, sir. Also, Japan has been spiking their bond yields, and I think now in United States might be actually going and buying Japanese yen to shore up that market. It has happened in the past. Last time also the turbulence stopped once US interfered. I guess it might happen again. So we'll just wait that next Sunday we can visit that.
Should I comment on the Japanese one or later?
Sir, please.
Okay, so the Japanese situation is, as you are aware, there has been continuing debt. Okay, and the debt is around 226 to 27% to GDP, the Japanese. Now, Sane Takaichi, who has taken over as the Prime Minister, announced that she is going to increase spend. Already his spend is outpacing the debt. And when she announced it, there were tremors in the market, and there were 40 basis point, almost in a very rapid time scale, maybe less than a week, there was a 40 basis point spike in the long-term Japanese bonds. And that in turn flowed into the market. And she said that the spending will come with regard to, as it relates to, defense as well as in technology, because Japan has been lagging on technology. She didn't stop there. This is pre-announcement of the election. She also said that the consumer prices have gone up, so she wants to give tax cuts to stabilize the purchasing parity or purchasing power of the consumer. So this is what caused the depreciation of the Japanese yen and rising to about 160 Japanese yen to the dollar. Which is a significant kind of rise. Then she announced the elections. Once the snap elections were announced, then the yen continued to remain discounted. And the hope is that she will get a better and higher majority in the elections. And once that occurs, then she will have a better integrated fiscal and monetary policy without the political nuances. This is what is the turbulence, but the markets do not expect any aberration to flow into the broader markets around the world, Sriji. And what is helping Japanese yen is the other G7 countries and the EU is not in a very stellar position either. When you look at Greece, when you look at France, when you look at Italy, when you look at Germany, when you look at UK, they're all not in great position in terms of, and EU collectively, the debt to GDP has gone from somewhere between 85 to about 90 plus, and they again are increasing their spending. So this is what is leaving the world with nothing but going back to the dollar trade, Sriji.
So, Sridharji, if you look at the adjoining countries to People's Republic of China, whether you take Taiwan or South Korea, there are one or two political parties that are leaning towards China. Is the case the same in Japan also, sir?
No. Japan is more about, I think there is no compromise on Japan protecting its sovereignty and security. It's time immemorial and historic in terms of the Japanese-Chinese issue going back to World War II and World War I, Sriji. So I don't believe that's the case. The question is, it's just like fiscal, lax fiscal policy or much more accommodative fiscal policy. This is what led Shinzo Abe to be successful, and he also reined in a number of things. It's a coalition very similar to France, and often you have infights, and there's a policy stagnation, and effectively the fiscal and monetary policy has been both managed by bankrupt Japan rather than by the Japanese government playing an active role, especially on the fiscal policy.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, since we are touching upon China, before we go to the shutdown in DC, that's usual show. But China, what is the little buddy telling you, sir? I heard that Xi Jinping is imprisoned inside the city of Beijing.
You are a master scoop, G, so therefore you know a lot in terms of these.
I make friends with birds, sir. I make friends with birds.
Yeah. So I think you're very good, G, very good at that. Look, I mean, honestly speaking, there's been a lot of speculation about this guy, being there's a coup and he's surrounded and he's kind of in quasi prison and etc. But the guy continues to be popping up and meeting. He has met 4 leaders in the last 72 hours. The UK Prime Minister. He has met. He's also meeting Mark Carney, the Canadian guy. He has also met the Uruguay and Paraguay leaders. And I think that who else? There's one more leader. So he's met all these people who have lined up, propelled by none other than the, Taco Trump. So therefore, fearing. So they all have lined up there. And so it begs the question, how much of this bird speaking is to do with a self-fulfilling prophecy versus the reality, because he seems like strong and ready to rock and roll, Sriji.
Well, time will tell what's happening, sir. Back to this DC shutdown. Storm in a teacup, or is it something serious?
No, I think that it's a show, and it will early next week, Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, when House returns, they will pass the 5 bills that the Senate has passed. Defense, financial services, utilities, government, State Department, foreign operations, public housing, etc. 2 bills that will be not passed, which will go for extensive discussion, is the Customs and Border Protection and the Immigration Control Enforcement. ICE and CBP budgets have been pulled back. Notwithstanding that, $1.2 trillion have been passed by the Senate to fund the budget, to fund the government, almost full year till September 2026. And that will go through the motions in House and it will get passed in House. But how the ICE and CBP, which is the stark truth, in terms of things that are going on in Minneapolis, will be the battleground between the two. So the budget tamasha is over. They always do this. You and I have been witness to this for almost 30, 40 years. This budget showdown, and Trump also allowed sometimes the showdown to last for 90, 120, 150 days. But there's one thing that this time he will find a solution, as he did now, is because of the midterm elections. The elections are coming up for the House, and he's not looking strong on the House. And if he loses House, a lot of things will not get through. Hopefully, he will retain the Senate, which it looks like he would. If that's the case, some key bills will get passed. So that's the story. Another important thing, I don't want to forget. By the way, India, United States, and Venezuela have struck a deal, and Venezuelan oil is now flowing into India, which is a very big news, endorsed by India and endorsed by Trump himself, which is to say India is going to buy more of the Venezuelan oil. That also shows some positive news for India, Sriji. Okay, I'll stop there with regard to the budget.
Thank you so much, sir. We have a few questions from our viewers. Let's take the questions now, please. Desi Stan wants to know, I think I should sell quite a lot of preferred stock in IBM. I think a crash is coming, rather sell and buy back. Your thoughts? That you look, Desi Stan, we are not stock advisors. We are just analyzing. We are not recommending anything. Don't take our word for it. We'll be in trouble with SEC. I mean, I don't want to get into trouble in that thing. We are merely analyzing the situation Please don't take our word for it. Over to you, sir.
No, I think that, folks, we need to put up compliance, disclosures, all those kinds of statements when you actually, and we need to be a broker dealer. So therefore, to either recommend, we are giving you macro view of the market in aggregate. We are not giving specific view as it relates to whether you should buy and sell IBM or whether you should do, those kinds of things are not permitted in the show. Sincere apologies.
Next question, please. Srinivasan wants to know, Sridhar Chityala, sir, very strong positive signals coming from India and US about FTA. Can we expect the deal signed in the next 2 months and end the stalemate? Thank you.
Well, I think look, we have done this before, and many a times we have slipped. And I think we have answered the question as to why we have slipped. And because of the internal battle and internal misalignment within the Republican administration and people ill-advising Trump, and which makes him to shoot down. But there's more than one person singing in the choir now, which is to say an imminent deal. As we speak, Subramaniam Jaishankarji is also in the United States for a range of reasons. So I think that there is a very strong possibility that a deal will emerge, very similar to the deal that happened with EU, which means the controversial agro products will be sidelined. India is very happy. They will buy Venezuelan oil. They're very happy to buy and swap it. They've already swapped some part of the Russian oil with US, 1.2 million. We covered that too. So I think that there's much stronger indication that a deal will emerge.
Thank you so much, sir. And that brings us to a close of today. Oh, there's one more question. Sorry. Balachandar wants to know, I heard that SA has gone bankrupt. Is it true?
What is SA has gone bankrupt, G?
South Africa? Let me see. I don't know what they are saying, SA.
I don't want to second guess what SA means, so I don't know.
Yeah. Let's not do that. Sorry, Balachandar, we don't know what that is. So there is one bank that went bankrupt. Chicago, I think. The assets have been Saudi Arabia. Oh, yeah. So anyway, it's okay. Let Balachandar. Saudi Arabia. He wants to know about Saudi Arabia. I have analyzed their situation. Balachandar, I have analyzed that situation. There'll be a monologue coming very soon on this. Just take a look at that one. Sir, we can skip on that. I mean, I've already done all the research work, what the price needs to be, and there's some headwinds there. Thank you so much, sir. And we'll see you again next Sunday, if not sooner. Namaskar.
Namaskar. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend. What is left of it.